Uncensored. Welcome to COASTER-net Uncut.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of COASTER-net Uncut. I am, of course, Andrew Barczyk from Chicago, Illinois, joined once again by my very good friend Danny Miller. Danny, how is it going tonight?
I am doing fantastic. It's, we're almost at 4th of July weekend here, at the time we're recording. By the time most of you folks are seeing this, we're probably past it, or at least very close to 4th of July weekend. So we're in the heat of the summer. We're going to theme parks every weekend. I'm sure you're thinking about them all day, every day, now that school's out for you. We know a lot of our viewers are off of school for the summer. Our younger viewers and our older viewers are out at the parks every weekend. So we thought it would be a good idea to kind of go back to a format that we've done a couple times in the past. Two of our most successful shows of all time have been the best of insert park chain here. Yeah. Very early on, our 9th episode ever, we did the best of the Six Flags parks, and that's one that I think was a real trademark episode for us, starting out way back when, a year and a half ago now. And for months we had the clamoring for the best of the Cedar Fair Park show, and we eventually did that. So today we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to do another one of those best of parks, but there's not really a third big chain. There kind of is, but when you look at the Busch parks, but there's only 5 real parks to look at there, 5 major parks. So we're going to throw a few others in there, and we've got a group of 9 parks that we're going to look at that Andy and I kind of agreed are all on the same platform, on the same level, the same competition level. So Andy, what are the parks we're talking about today?
So tonight we're going to talk about Busch Gardens Tampa, Busch Gardens Williamsburg, SeaWorld Orlando, SeaWorld San Antonio, SeaWorld San Diego, Hershey Park, Holiday World, Dollywood, and Silver Dollar City. So we threw in those Hershey parks too there. And Holiday World, we struggled with Holiday World a little bit, but the problem is with Holiday World, it's a smaller park, yes. It's still family owned, unlike some of these other parks that are more corporate structured. But Holiday World's so good that both of us felt that we had to put it within this grouping, because if we put it in any other grouping, because we are planning on doing like a mid-major show, like, throwing in some of those smaller parks together, any other grouping we put Holiday World in, basically Holiday World runs away with it. So here, I think Holiday World is on a balance of power, structure. I think Holiday World fits in very nicely with this grouping. Now, Danny, why don't you tell us about now the different categories that we're going to look at tonight for each park?
Yes, and I think when we go through these categories, you'll kind of see why we put Holiday World here, because like you said, if we put it in with like the Knoebels and the Kennywoods and the Lake Compounces, even though size-wise it's kind of more along that scale, in terms of how good it is in each of these categories, Holiday World would just run away with that. At least in our opinion. So we felt it would be much more better fit here, and it'd make the decisions a lot harder. So we've got 8 categories tonight. The Six Flags one, and I think maybe the Cedar Fair one, we only had 7, but going through, since we have the SeaWorld and the Busch parks here, we have a little bit of a different topic to talk about with those parks in particular. So we decided to add a category. So first, we're going to talk about the roller coasters, just straight up roller coasters. Which of these parks is the best in the roller coaster category? Then we're going to talk about other rides, non-roller coaster rides. So your flat rides, your water rides, your dark rides, things like that. So that's another category. The one that we kind of added in here is non-ride attractions is what we're calling it. So this would be your shows, this would be parades, maybe some walkthroughs, if you have some of those. Not holiday-related walkthroughs. We'll get to that in a minute. But this is kind of specifically in there for the Busch parks and, Dollywood, Silver Dollar City, even Hershey Park and Holiday World have a good lineup of shows. So we wanted to make sure that we included that here in this discussion. Then we'll talk about some other ones that we also did in the previous shows. We'll talk about food, operations. So that could be mainly ride operations, maybe store operations, customer service. So this would be, people are greeting you, maybe food service might go in the food category, but customer service, maybe how clean the park is, how friendly it is in general. That's the kind of stuff we're looking for there. Then we have environment and atmosphere, and we kind of put this together because we can't just say theming, because maybe at a park like Hershey Park, maybe your theming isn't that strong, but you might have a good classic theme park atmosphere. That was one that was kind of birthed from the Cedar Fair discussion too, because it's not really theming at Cedar Fair, it's more of the atmosphere and cleanliness and how you feel at a theme park. And then finally, we'll do special events. And special events is going to be a really tough one because I think all of these parks really do nice special events. So you can see now why this one probably becomes a bit more interesting, because as you mentioned when we did the Cedar Fair and Six Flags discussions, both of those chains have like 3 or 4 parks that are really, really cream of the crop, top of the line parks. And then they have 3 or 4 at the bottom that's kind of like, well, they're okay, they're nice parks, but they just don't stack up. And then you have somewhere in between. I think we've got 9 parks tonight that really are very, very good in just about all of these categories. So it's going to make it interesting, and I think we're going to structure the point system the same way we've done it before. Andy and I will each have 1 full point to give, from ourselves. I can give a full point to any park I want. Andy can't say anything about it. Andy can give 1 full point to any park he wants. I can't say anything about it. We can also take that 1 point and split it into 2 half a points if we feel need be. After Andy and I both award our point in each category, we can then agree to give another point to another park, or maybe split a 3rd point into 2 halves and give another half a point to 2 more parks if we feel need be. So, and that's if we can agree on them. So, so I think that's kind of how we're going to run this. This is how we've done it in the past. So, Andy, do you have any thoughts before we start off with the roller coaster category?
Well, I do want to say that unlike, a lot of times before we do a show, we really get into like what we're going to talk about, how we're going to talk about it. For these shows, we kind of structure it where we talk a little bit about what we're going to do. But moving into this first category, I haven't really sat down and already decided where my point's going to go. So you're probably going to hear throughout the show a little bit more back and forth before we actually give our point. And this one especially, since we're really weighing a lot of different options here. So it's going to be really interesting. And I think this roller coaster category in particular, jumping off the page at me, I immediately go to Holiday World. And I say Holiday World has a beautiful set of roller coasters. You got Voyage, you got Thunderbird, you got Legend and Raven. Yeah. There's only 4. And I'm trying to figure out what other parks. I kind of like Williamsburg. I don't like Apollo, but they got Griffin, they got Tempesto. I really love Verbolten. They have a nice set, but none of those really jump off the page at me. Tampa, the same way. Cheetah Hunt, I really like. I really like SheiKra. This is a really tough one for me. What are some of your thoughts? Because I know your favorite coaster is actually in one of these parks here. And how does that affect how you choose?
Well, the problem is I have a lot of favorites in all of these parks. I mean, you've got my favorite coaster ever, which is Voyage. Contrary to popular belief, it is not Manta, it is Voyage.
Yeah.
Is at Holiday World. And I mean, all 3 of those wood coasters are in my top 10 wood list. And then Thunderbird is in my top 10 steel list, believe it or not. So that's a compelling argument right there. Busch Gardens Williamsburg, you've got Apollo's Chariot, which people know is one of my favorites. And then my favorite steel coaster, Manta, is at SeaWorld Orlando. And then, people know how much of a a Thunderhead fan I am, and I know you and I are both big Skyrush fans, so we've got that to consider.
Well,
boy. I have a feeling.
Maybe I should say
Go
this. So, from my perspective, it might be a process of elimination for me. And here we are with this back and forth. San Antonio, I really like Steel Eel, but I don't think that collection comes close. San Diego, I haven't been there, but I don't think Manta and their collection comes close. They're off the docks. I don't like Dollywood's collection, to be completely honest with you. Now, I haven't been on Lightning Rod.
I know you don't.
And maybe Lightning Rod changes that a little bit, but Wild Eagle is an average coaster for me. Thunderhead I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan. Fire Chaser's okay. Actually, one of my favorite coasters there is Tennessee Tornado, and for me, that collection doesn't stack up. Silver Dollar City, though, I really like Wildfire. Wildfire's in my top 40. I really love Outlaw Run. It's my number 2 wood. I'm not a huge fan of Powder Keg. I really love Thunderation, though. So Silver Dollar City's in the mix there. Hershey, I really, really, really love Skyrush. Both of us do. So that's a given. But then we were talking about before, Hershey kind of drops off a little bit. That Storm Chaser is a pretty good ride. It's in my top 40. Nothing else there really jumps off the page at me. I don't like anything at SeaWorld Orlando.
We know you don't.
So for me right now, it's Holiday World, maybe Hershey, maybe Silver Dollar City, maybe Williamsburg or Tampa.
I think I've made my decision.
Okay, because I haven't made mine yet.
I'm going to, no surprise here, I'm going to split my point in half.
Oh.
And I'm going to give half to Holiday World, and I'm going to give half to Busch Gardens Williamsburg. And here's the reason why. I would give my full point to Busch Gardens Williamsburg, but the problem with Busch Gardens Williamsburg is me being a big wood coaster guy, I want the wood coaster experience. Now, I'm getting it next year with Battle Clash, the ride. But the problem is, I don't know that Battle Clash is going to be quite the wood coaster that... I mean, it's going to be a nice ride. And I'm surprised you haven't called me out yet for calling it Battle Clash, because I know you actually like the Invader name.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you. It's going to be really cool.
So I'm going to go... I'm gonna split my point in two because I like Williamsburg a hair more than Tampa, and I think that Tampa might actually be third on that list. But again, missing the wood coaster, and I think Dollywood is probably next for me. And you've brought this point up before on the show. If you take Skyrush out of Hershey Park, they have a lot of good rides, but they don't really have that signature ride. I mean, Storm Runner and Fahrenheit, Great Bear, they're good rides. They're not the signature coaster that, Holiday World has arguably 4 signature coasters. I mean, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, and Tampa, you could argue each have 3. And, I mean, we haven't been on Cobra's Curse yet. It just opened a couple weeks ago. Dollywood, I mean, you could maybe say has 1 or 2. Silver Dollar City probably has 2. So I'm going to give half each to those.
I'm really struggling with this one, Danny. I think I've dropped Hershey. Tough. It's tough. Oh, hell. Man, it's for me right now to put the listeners in my mind. For me right now, I'm at Hershey, Holiday World, and Silver Dollar City. That's where I'm at. I'm between those 3. And here's my thinking. Obviously Voyage I really love. I really love Thunderbird. I used to love Legend a lot.
Let's not go there, please. Yeah. That's a whole show in itself.
Raven, I still really like.
I love Legend, folks. Andy doesn't like it anymore. Let's keep it at that. Okay,
I'm not a fan. Silver Dollar City, I really love Outlaw. I really love Wildfire. I really like Thunderation. And Hershey, I really love Skyrush, and I like Storm Chaser. So I think I'm going to drop...
Storm Runner. Storm Runner.
Storm Runner.
You don't
sorry.
like Storm Chaser.
I don't like Storm Chaser. Please strike that from the record. Somebody is gonna find that piece of video and post that all over the web now. You know it's gonna happen. Andrew Barczyk loves Storm Chaser.
And I know it's the Beard Man. It's gonna be the Beard Man who does it too.
Or Ryan Wilcox.
Universe bracket.
Who knows?
Or Ryan Wilcox.
Yeah. One of those two is gonna take that and Andrew Barczyk loves Storm Chaser. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, here's what I'm going to do. I, too, am going to give a half to Holiday World.
Okay.
And I'm going to give a half to Silver Dollar City. That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, okay.
And which is shocking, which is really shocking from the perspective of the Steel Coaster guy is basically giving both of his point to the Wood Coaster parks.
Wood Coaster Park. Now, okay, so now here's the interesting debate now. Do we agree to give either an additional point somewhere? I mean, where would we go? Would we be able to agree, or at least a half a point? I mean, the one for me would be, would you give a half a point to Tampa?
No, I don't think Tampa has enough right now. I really like SheiKra. Cheetah Hunt's nice. It's a pretty ride. I don't think from a ride.
SheiKra, Cheetah Hunt, Kumba, Montu, now Cobra's Curse. I mean, that's a solid collection that's on this list.
See, now I want to go
third for me.
Now I want to go back and change because I forgot about my favorite ride, Kumba.
Kumba.
I know. Kumba at night. Dason used to operate Kumba too. I'm surprised it's still standing.
Half a point to Tampa.
If you want half a point to Tampa, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with a half a point to Tampa.
I know you want to.
Yeah. Now, yeah.
Okay.
So really, wow. Right. That's so Holiday World out in the lead there with 1 full point. This show we're going to start giving away thirds of points and quarters of points.
And the thing is, like, the Six Flags and Cedar Fair show, Andy and I kind of had an idea on where this was going to go. We haven't talked about this at all. We're going right into this, so we have no idea who's, like, we kind of knew it was going to be Cedar Point and Knott's Berry Farm when we did the Cedar Fair show. We have no idea how this is going to end up here.
This is ridiculous.
Okay, other rides. Non-coaster
I'm sweating already.
rides.
I'm sweating. This is
Water
real
rides,
work here.
Dark rides.
Oh.
What do you think here?
Okay, so, jumps off the page at me. I really like Falcon's Fury. Okay, that's something, but their flat ride collection after Falcon's Fury, not a lot going on there. Williamsburg, I really like Dark Castle. And they do have
Dark Castle.
They do have a number of flat Escape from Pompeii. They got the Mock Tower, which is crap. They got that whole little Italian zone with the magic cart with the Da Vinci's Cradle. That's kind of cool.
Yep. Europe in the air and knockoff of Soarin'.
Not even. It's like a Chinese knockoff.
You got a nice train and you've got a cable lift too.
You do. SeaWorld Orlando has nothing for me. I can't stand it. And Empire of the Penguin was ridiculous to me. I thought it was one of the worst rides. I couldn't believe that they spent money on that. Turtle Trek was ridiculous to me. San Antonio.
I like Turtle Trek.
Shut up.
But that's not a ride. That goes into the non-ride / shows.
Does it? Okay, if you say so.
Yeah, because it's not a ride.
Okay. It's a walkthrough, I guess. I guess it's a walkthrough.
It's an exhibit.
It's an exhibit, yeah. San Antonio has the raft ride. There's not much else there. San Diego, I don't even know what they have there.
Doesn't have much.
I think the surprising thing to me is that Hershey doesn't even have a major flat ride collection when you actually get down to it.
Not really.
Like when you think about it, there's not a lot of flat rides going on there, and maybe
they've got a wave swinger, they've got a claw, they've got the Reese's Extreme Cup Challenge, they've got a log flume, they've got the kissing tower, they've got a Ferris wheel, but they don't have anything that really sticks out outside of maybe the Reese's ride. That's like maybe the one standout that's like.
Yeah, Holiday
When
World
you
is
think
just,
Hershey Park, you don't think flat rides a whole lot.
yeah, Holiday World's the same way. They got the Gobbler Getaway, they've got the Frightful Falls.
They've got standard rides though. They don't have a whole lot of standout flat rides.
Pilgrim's Plunge was interesting, but they took that out, so I don't know if I can count that anymore. Dollywood's got Barnstormer.
Dollywood is Barnstormer. They've got the Splash Battle. They've got that entire area.
They got the Dizzy Disc. The Dizzy
They've got
Disc.
the Dizzy Disc, which some may call a coaster.
No,
but they've got that entire area down by there with the Wave Swinger. Let's see, what else do they have in terms of? They have the Mountain Slide Winder.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
I think Dollywood, if nothing else, I think Dollywood has the most unique non-coaster ride collection with the Splash Battle, the Slide Winder. They've got the Barnstormer, which is a nice ride.
Silver Dollar City.
The train is really nice too.
Yeah, Silver Dollar City has the Splash Battle, but they also have the Shot Tower now at the new the new kids section.
Yeah.
Man, this one's tough, not because of outstanding like the last one was, but because of mediocrity. It's there's I like Tampa. Falcon's Fury really is amazing, so that stands out for me. I think Dollywood has the most stuff, like you said, and then Busch Gardens has a fair amount of stuff.
So I know where I'm going with this. I am going with Dollywood. I'm going to do two halves again, and I think that's going to be a common theme here. I'm going to go with Dollywood because, again, they have a good, unique collection with Mountain Slide Winder. I mean, Barnstormer isn't an incredibly unique ride, but they've got a unique spin on it. They've got the Splash Battle. They've got it. They have the Daredevil Falls log flume too. Is really nicely themed there. I'm gonna go with a half a point for Dollywood, and then I'm also gonna go with a half a point to Williamsburg because
what's your Williamsburg?
Dark Castle, Escape from Pompeii, the Mock Tower is okay. I mean, they've got that entire area in Italy with the flying carpet. They've got a couple of good flat rides there. Tempesto might as well be a flat ride. Let's be honest. So I'm gonna go a half each there.
I'm gonna do much like you did, and I'm gonna go to a half to Dollywood. And I'm actually going to go to half to Tampa because I can't get over how good Falcon's Fury is. And they have
I won't argue with that.
They have enough. They have enough other stuff there, I think, to justify that as well. They have the water rides. I know they just took out their Shoot the Chutes ride. That little did people know this, but I learned this that
Rhino Rally is wasting away.
Yeah, That's okay. I don't like anything in that, so let's just move on. I'm not a fan of what happened there.
So we're not giving away any extras on this one?
No, I don't see anyone that could really.
I mean, you've got to have at least one or two standouts, I think, to earn a point here. And I think with Tampa, you have Falcon's Fury. With Williamsburg, you have at least Dark Castle. And then with Dollywood, I think between Splash Battle, Slide Winder, Daredevil Falls, those are all Barnstormer. I mean, I think that's a good collection. So
I
there
love
we go.
Dizzy Disc.
Okay, so here we go. Non-ride attractions. So we're talking about shows and walkthroughs here. So so this is where your Turtle Trek would fall in. This is where maybe like your Bald Eagle, your Birds of Prey show, the Raptor show at Dollywood would fall in. Your diving show at Holiday World, maybe your Sea Lion show at Hershey Park. This would all kind of fall into there.
I'm probably gonna go all in right now and say Williamsburg. because Celtic Fire, I'm not a huge purveyor of shows. I'm not a huge patron. But Celtic Fire is so good. I don't like animal shows, obviously. If you followed anything I've done.
Seen at Williamsburg, I saw a fantastic show a few years ago on Festa d'Italia where
I saw that one.
Eating. It was like a painting and drum beat show.
I hated that show.
There
you know what?
San Marco.
You're selling. I hated that show. I thought it was. I walked out of that show because I thought it was bad. I thought it was stupid. It's like where they use the pans to like do songs and stuff. Maybe it's a different show you're thinking of.
Well, they weren't. They weren't pans. They were like actual timpani drums.
Oh no, these were like pans and stuff. Okay,
no,
so it's probably different now.
I don't remember. There was a painter during this one too, and he was painting, and then he at the very end he flipped the painting upside down, and then you actually saw what it was.
Okay, and here's the question, because Halloween shows should count. Oh hell!
But I think that goes under special events though.
Well, but Halloween shows are different. Like they're shows, like because then. Okay. Then you got to count like all the Christmas stuff too. I'm probably gonna go with Dollywood. You know what? I'm going a different route. 1 point to Dollywood for me, because I just remembered that I went to the Festival of Nations stuff this year, and the shows during that were amazing, and then the shows during the actual season at Dollywood were amazing. So I have to go with Dollywood, and anything else would just be, I considered Busch Gardens Tampa because during Halloween they have the Naughty Nurse show, which is quite entertaining. But I think I'm going to go, and that just gave me a reason to put up a gratuitous picture of a naughty nurse there. So, you can thank me later for those types of things. But I'm going to go all in on Dollywood. I have to
watch this show after theirs.
I'm going to go with Dollywood because the shows at Dollywood are by far the best. I don't know what I was thinking there. Celtic Fire's good, but Dollywood stuff. We saw a show from South America this year that was out of this world that might have been one of the best shows I've ever seen at a theme park. So Dollywood is my answer. 1 point.
Would you be willing, if I didn't give my point to Williamsburg, would you be willing to give half a point to it?
I don't know if that's fair. I think you need to go all in. And then I need to determine.
Why do I have to go all in?
Because I went all in. You can split up your points however you want. Then we can determine half a points later.
I mean, I definitely think Dollywood deserves at least half a point. So I'm going to give half a point to Dollywood for sure.
Wow. Dollywood just took over a commanding lead.
Wow.
It's tough.
This other half a point is tough for me. And it wouldn't be ordinarily, but oh boy. I don't think you're gonna like me here, but I like Turtle Trek.
Holy
and
fuck.
I mean, and I like going through all the exhibits at SeaWorld, the shark exhibit, the new penguin exhibit, Sans Ride. We'll leave that out of the discussion for now. I'm going to give half a point to SeaWorld Orlando. And maybe it's partially due to the queues too. I think the queue of Manta is part of that too, because that really is more like a walkthrough.
It's an aquarium.
So and Williamsburg is the other park I'm considering there.
I'm surprised you didn't break up into thirds.
Well, I probably should.
No.
Well, that's why I was curious if you would go for a half point with Williamsburg.
Here's the thing with Williamsburg.
Because I don't think that's any worse than Orlando. It's just different.
I really like Celtic Fire. I haven't seen the London Rock show, but I've heard good things about that. They have
London Rocks is pretty good.
They have the general animal shows. They also have a Naughty Nurse show during Halloween, I believe. I think they still have it, or they used to. They also have a Fiend show that I haven't. I have to get to Williamsburg for Howl-O-Screen. because they in the Celtic Fire Theater, I think they do a Halloween show in there too, which might be cool. If you want to give a half a point to Williamsburg, I would not be against it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes me feel a little bit better about my choice there. So, so shall we move on to
You and
food?
Shambo. Go ahead. Yeah, let's move on to food. Food, coming off of the page, Williamsburg has a lot of good options. Tampa has a few good options. Tampa has. I've eaten it, but nothing. The problem with Tampa is nothing jumps off and says, "Oh my God, I need to go back and eat this at Tampa." Whereas Williamsburg, you got the barbecue, you have the Fest House, the sausage platters, really good. You have the pretzel dog.
You have that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've had the Italian food. Williamsburg has a lot of nice stuff. Orlando, nothing. San Antonio, nothing. San Diego, nothing. Hershey's interesting because it has a lot of fried food. And then they have a nice Hershey's restaurant.
And the chocolate, come on.
Yeah, seriously. Like, there's so much good stuff at Hershey. Holiday World, I've kind of soured on lately, where I've walked into the Thanksgiving restaurant, and I could have swore they used to have a ham platter, but they don't have it anymore. It's all turkey and roast beef and stuff like that, and I'm not a fan of that. But they do have a new barbecue section out back by Thunderbird, where the barbecue sauce is out of this world.
Yes.
I don't know if that's enough, though, to sell me. Dollywood has the buffets, which are really good. But I'm actually going to go out and maybe shock a few people and say Silver Dollar City is my choice, because I think Silver Dollar City has the best food out of all these places, actually.
So you're going to go full point?
Full point to Silver Dollar City, because I like their outdoor stuff where they do the skillets. They have these awesome platters where they just put everything together. Dollywood doesn't do that. They have a really good buffet in the coal mine at Silver Dollar City. There's a lot of good options there that I really, really like. The only other place I would really consider would be Williamsburg and Hershey are the other two, but I think Silver Dollar City is by far, when I think about food and what I really want to eat, like, I want to go back to Silver Dollar City. I might actually go back this year. I'm debating it. I might be taking a trip back to Silver Dollar City this year. Maybe. So I'm going to go 1 point to Silver Dollar City out of nowhere.
Okay, well, my choice is very, very clear for me. It's very obvious, and people who know me well will probably see this coming a mile away. I'm going half each to Williamsburg and Dollywood. Williamsburg for the variety and also the quality. Mainly the stuff in San Marco, the Italian stuff is outstanding, and the Trapper's Smokehouse might be one of my favorite places to eat in any theme park anywhere. And then in Dollywood, you have Miss Lillian's Buffet, I think it is, and then they have Aunt Granny's, and the cinnamon bread at Dollywood is absolutely out of this world. There's a reason that Dollywood has started to win Best Food instead of Knoebels, because quite honestly, I think both of those, I think just about every park on this list probably has better food than Knoebels. I think Knoebels has good food, and I think there's a good variety, but I think a lot of the parks on this list have better food. If you go ahead.
I was going to say, because I think the only thing that sets Dollywood apart is the cinnamon bread from Silver Dollar City. But I think Silver Dollar City has all the same stuff that Dollywood has and does it better at a lot of times and serves it better and has a better combination of stuff. It's a smaller park, so you don't have as many options. But I think the issue is that just not a lot of people, like, a lot of people go to Dollywood every year. Not a whole lot of people go to Silver Dollar City every year. So I think that's why I think Silver Dollar City would start winning the food category for the golden tickets if more people went consistently to that park. I just don't think that they do, and I think that's why Dollywood wins. But I think Silver Dollar City does a lot of the same stuff as Dollywood, but does it better. But I'm not opposed to you giving your point to those two places.
And I would be okay with giving a half point to Hershey if you want. If nothing else, for like the desserts and the chocolate. I mean, even though it's not part of the park, I think Chocolate World has to come into a factor here. The food inside the park, like the lunch and dinner food, for the most part, isn't completely out of this world. There is a barbecue place down in the gully between Great Bear and Stormrunner that has barbecue that is very, very good, and they have an outstanding s'mores cobbler, which is to die for at Hershey Park. And I think that's like the signature food item that I think you kind of need, like the Trapper's Smokehouse or the Aunt Granny's buffet type, or the cinnamon bread. So if you're okay with giving a half point to Hershey, I will absolutely go ahead and do that.
I had an amazing, we went to the sit-down restaurant right outside the main gate, and I had an amazing Kit Kat sundae that was out of this world. It was hot fudge, ice cream, and the mini Kit Kats all the way through it. Oh, it was delicious. We also had a number of different deep-fried Hershey's products, which were also equally delicious at that point. So I'm not opposed to that at all. Okay, so the next one is operations, and I'm just going to give my point to Holiday World. So there you go. Because when it comes to operations and how they take people's items for them, they put them on the shelves themselves. They dispatch trains as quickly as you can. They are on point pretty much every point of the day, where I've never had, to my knowledge, a bad experience with operations there. I can say that about a lot of these parks. But you know, I just know some of them are kind of slow. Some of them take a while. Some of them meander a little bit. And Holiday World, to me, really takes that step above and really works hard to get those trains out as fast as possible. So that's why I'm going to give my full point to Holiday World.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. And, you know, Dollywood also does take your items. The problem is Dollywood is not as quick as Holiday World. No. Dollywood, and I don't think it's really of any fault of their own. I think it's maybe because you do have some older folks who work at the park that just inherently are not as quick as your 18, 20, 22-year-olds that are there and are very, very quick on their feet. I think that's just part of that's who Dollywood is. That's what they are, that's their character.
If you're also talking about Dollywood, and I don't know if we consider this in operations, but the one thing that irritates me the most about Dollywood is that they close their rides at the drop of a hat. That there's rain within 25 miles and they are closing rides up. And I can't tell you how many times I've sat there in a queue line when it's dry as a bone and the rides are closed for weather, and that kind of irritates me too. So that, to me, Dollywood does the things that you said, but if you include those sorts of policies in it as well, that kind of annoys me. And really, Williamsburg, nothing really jumps out at me as like, oh my God, they're amazing with operations. Tampa, none of the SeaWorld parks something jumped out at me. Hershey.
The interesting thing is that none of these parks really jump out and say, it's not like Six Flags where it's like, oh my God, their operations are terrible. I think all of their operations are pretty decent.
Average,
I mean, average is probably the worst that any of them are, I think. I would say that most of them are slightly above. I would say Hershey Park is probably average. It really depends on the day. I've had some days at Hershey Parks where the operations are pretty good. And like Lightning Racer, their operations are amazing. They get out really quick there. And it never has a line, partially because it's such a high capacity ride. But then some other rides like Great Bear's operations are painfully slow for some reason, and I never understood why. We're avoiding a certain topic here, if you can't tell. So without further ado, I am going to give half a point to Holiday World for reasons that you mentioned. And you're going to roll your eyes here, but because of the fact that every time I go to this park, even when it's not busy, they're running the maximum number of trains on all their roller coasters, is Busch Gardens Williamsburg. And all the times that I've been there, you see 5 trains on Verbolten, 2 or 3 trains on Alpengeist. You see 3 trains on Apollo's Chariot. Even on the busiest days, I've never waited more than 10 minutes for Apollo's Chariot. And when I like a ride that much, when I don't have to wait in line for it, even on the busiest day, 4th of July weekend, I was waiting 10 minutes or less for Apollo's Chariot. And that, to me, really stunned me the first time I did that. So I'm going to go half Holiday World, half Busch Gardens Williamsburg here.
Okay. And
are there any others that you wanted to? I don't have to, but if there's another one that, like Tampa's okay, but I don't think Tampa's as good as Williamsburg in operation. Sorry, Jason.
Well, that's another place. I was just gonna say, I've heard about operations on Kumba and Scorpion sometimes, and the. Just terrible.
You're on dangerous ground here, Mr. Spicoli.
Yeah, I know. I'm not comfortable giving out any extra points here. I don't think there's anything that really jumps out in front of me that says, hey.
I don't think it's warranted.
Yeah. So the next one is customer service. And like we said before, this is how you interact with employees, not through operations, but friendliness, that kind of thing. Man, this is another tough one because I really like what Holiday World does.
Is
it? Holiday World, once again, I think is by far the winner of this. The question is, are there other places that draw you away? Hershey, for example. I was there, towards the beginning of the season, maybe the beginning of June, and I was actually looking for the sit-down restaurant. That it's granted at the time I didn't realize it was it's right outside the main gate. For all intents and purposes,
you should know where it is.
It's part of the damn park. I asked no less than 6 people where this restaurant was. People were telling me down at the other end of the place, and I had a map, and we were the map is terrible too, trying to decipher where things are and what the logos are. It was 6 people could not tell me. I finally found a security guard, and she's like, I think it's outside the park, the main gate right there. So finally someone was able to tell me, but that signals an issue to me that your people don't know. And it was early enough in the season where I'm kind of like, well, maybe I should give them a free pass, but it's the beginning of June. You should kind of know your park already. Like, take a quiz or something.
Yeah.
I've never really had an issue. The people at Dollywood are always really nice. That's the other thing. They're super nice.
That's what I'm thinking too. But
Holiday World, I think, goes above and beyond being nice, don't they? Don't they go more than nice?
I was leaning towards a full point to Holiday World, and then if you would agree, I would. So. I'm going to give my full point to Holiday World because I think that they are above and beyond there. I would not be opposed to giving a half a point or even a full point to Dollywood if you would agree, if you went elsewhere with yours.
Well, I was going to give a full point to Holiday World as well. So that I'm fine. If you want do you want to give a full point to Dollywood? We've never really done have we done a full point? Have we?
I think we have in the point if we both feel strongly enough about it. I would have no problem giving a full point to Dollywood on that.
Okay. So I'm okay with that as well. So just to update the tally.
It's still showing that Holiday World is better by the fact that we're both giving full points there.
What is the tally that you have right now? Because I want to make sure that we're going into this.
So I'm using an Excel spreadsheet, so I think I have it pretty good here. Yeah. So I have Busch Gardens Williamsburg at 2.5. I have Tampa at 1, Orlando at half, SeaWorld San Antonio, SeaWorld San Diego both at 0 still. I have Dollywood at 4. I have Silver Dollar City at 1.5. I have Hershey at 0.5, and I have Holiday World at 4.5.
It's exactly what I have, using the old pen and paper method. Now we move into event and atmosphere. Yeah, event and atmosphere. Now this one's really tough, because I haven't done a lot of.
Give them all points.
Well, I've done some of the events, and I've not done other. And I know everyone raves about the Dollywood Christmas. Silver Dollar City has a Christmas event. Hershey has Candy Cane Lane, is what they call it, right? Something like that. Right?
Christmas Candy Lane, yes.
Yeah,
and then
something
Williamsburg
like that.
is Christmas Town, and I think Tampa started doing Christmas Town recently. They never did a Christmas event. They were just open for Christmas, but now they've done a Christmas event in the recent years.
Now for Halloween, which is the other usually big season for doing events, obviously Howl-O-Scream, you have Tampa and Williamsburg. A lot of people don't know this, but SeaWorld San Antonio has a Howl-O-Scream as well. That's supposedly pretty cool.
Yes, they do.
Hershey has a Halloween event, but it's so stupid. It borders on the ridiculous of even calling it a Halloween event.
It's more like family friendly.
Yeah,
but it's
a lot of
Hershey
people
Park in the dark. It's not.
And it wasn't always like that too. Where I know our good friend Pat East bitches about that all the time, and maybe Hershey can bring back a real Halloween event. Holiday World doesn't do it. Obviously, the Hershey parks don't do it.
Holiday World does the Happy Halloween weekends and that's new, like in the last 2 years. But it's more like their Hershey Park family friendly event. And Holiday World doesn't need to do the scary Halloween part. Yeah. But I think it would be cool if Holiday World even did like a Christmas thing where all you would have to do is open up the Christmas. It's like it's all kiddie rides, games, and shops. Like you don't need the big roller coasters open, but I mean the locals would probably go into Holiday World, have some cocoa. I mean you could make a killing off of meeting Santa and elves and and all that. I think that'd be perfect for like the kids and the families. I would think.
I am gonna split my point here, and I'm gonna split it between Tampa and Williamsburg. Because those two are the best two Howl-O-Screams. Okay. And they both have solid Christmas events. Tampa a little less than Williamsburg, but I think I'm going to split my point there and go Tampa and Williamsburg. I really enjoy the Tampa Howl-O-Scream. I've been there 2 years now. I think their haunts are classic haunts. They're more like those, like Universal is very... it's like you're walking through movies, and it's almost too much. Where Howl-O-Scream at Tampa is the classic haunt, the in your face, and they're really well done. They put a lot of money into them. They don't switch them out every year to new haunts. But I really like Tampa's, and I've never been to Williamsburg's. But the reason why I give Williamsburg the point is because they have the Howl-O-Scream that I've heard good things about. But I've also heard really good things about Christmas Town, too. So with those two things in combination, that's why I split my point there.
Yeah, and this is interesting here. Because for me, I have to go because, again, we've talked about this before, because of me playing hockey, I never got to haunt events, and this might be the first year where I actually get to parks during Halloween and get to see some Halloween events. It's going to be on weekends.
Danny Miller,
Christmas events too.
I've got, I just got word that my Columbus Day weekend that I always go with my dad and my brother to Universal Orlando. My dad has a wedding to go to that weekend, and he's not attending. And maybe we need to break you into a little Halloween Horror Nights this year. Because there's nothing else to do at Universal. Like, come on. What are you going to do, ride Rocket? Screw that. The only thing to do is to go through the houses. Maybe that's something you might consider this year, Columbus Day weekend. You guys probably don't get off Columbus Day, though.
Maybe.
Yeah. We'll see. Maybe that's
no, Columbus Day is not one of the ones that we get off.
No.
So unfortunately, that's going to be tough for me to swing. But we can certainly discuss it. So for me, I kind of have to go off a reputation here.
Yeah.
Which is never good to do. But I think because Williamsburg has a bona fide Halloween event that gets good reviews and a bona fide Christmas event that is constantly at capacity and constantly gets good reviews, I would have to think Williamsburg gets half a point for me. And again, I don't want to give a full point out here because I don't know for sure. So I'm kind of thinking Dollywood for the other half a point, and the reason being, number one, the Smoky Mountain Christmas event is always supposed to be very, very good. And we're not just talking holidays here. You look at what Dollywood does throughout the year, whether it's Festival of Nations, whether it's, their brew and barbecue, whatever they do, blues and barbecue, whatever they call it there. They do different things throughout the summer and throughout the entire season. And I think that has to be qualified as a special event. So I think because of that, I think Dollywood has to get a half a point here as well. So I think that's where I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go a half each to Williamsburg and Dollywood, and it's tough for me to hand out anything else just because I don't know. The only real event out of these that I've been to Hershey Park's Christmas event as a kid, but that's it. I can't really speak for any of the other events. So that's kind of where I go there. So we have our last category here coming up. And this is an interesting one. It's the environment and atmosphere. So this could be theming. This could be just general theme park, amusement park atmosphere here. So this is where it gets really tricky because at the Busch parks, at the SeaWorld parks, even at Dollywood and Silver Dollar City and Holiday World, you get very good theming. And then at Hershey Park, you get good, amusement park feel. You even get the good amusement park feel at Holiday World too. So I think this is an interesting one. And we've got two parks, Dollywood and Holiday World, tied at 4.5, and Williamsburg is in third at 3.5. So going into this last category here, it gets very, very interesting.
Well, I can tell you right off the bat, I hate walking into SeaWorld Orlando, and it has nothing to do. I hated it even before all the stuff started happening there with Blackfish and all that. I never liked that park. I don't like the way it's laid out. I don't like the feel of it. I don't like anything about it. So that one's definitely off the board for me. Hershey, I like the front half of the park. I think it has a real nice feel to it. The back half of the park feels so junky to me. And I don't know if it's because the trees let up, that there's no trees in the back of the park. It kind of feels like that. Or they have that big water park section in the middle.
Once you get past like Storm Runner and Fahrenheit, it feels like water park plopped down in the middle of an outdated section of the park.
It's really weird. So I can't do that. Even Holiday World, it's very well themed, but it's old themed too. So I can't give it to Holiday World on that. So really,
it's more like cutesy theming. It's not immersive theming. It's cutesy theming.
Yeah.
Like the on the legend and the school bell and the schoolhouse and like the Mayflower. Thunderbird is like the Thunderbird's queue area and station is the one area where Holiday World is really, really immersive in a theme in that area. But Holiday World's theme is great. It's perfect for what Holiday World is. But it's the cutesy theme. Holiday World's theme is almost like. It's like what you always wanted to do in Roller Coaster Tycoon. You wanted to make these really cool themed areas to all the holidays and, Christmas and Halloween. And it's what you always wanted to do but could never actually do in Roller Coaster Tycoon. But it's not like Whereas when you look at like the Busch Gardens parks and even Dollywood's to a point, it's almost the point where you're in an old rustic town, or you're in Italy, you're in Germany, you're in Scotland, you're in Ireland, and it's just a little bit of a different feel because of the corporate budget, I think.
Well, you're probably going to be surprised by this, maybe. But there's one park.
I don't know if I am.
There's one park that I'm going to give the full point to because I always come back to it, and I don't know why I want to go back to this park all the time, but I always do. I don't have it when you look at my ranked parks, it's probably like number 10 on my list. But for some reason, there's something drawing me back to this park, and that's Williamsburg. And for some reason, I don't know what it is. I'm not a great lover of flowers and art and trees and nature, but there's something about the flow of that park, about how it's designed, that makes you want to stay there when you get there and makes you want to come back. Because it's obviously not the coasters. I'm not in love with I like Verbolten. I don't like Apollo's Chariot. I like Griffin. I love Dark Castle. So it's not the rides that are making me want to go there. The food's pretty good, like we talked about. So that, the customer service is there. It's, they're friendly enough. But it's just, it's the way it looks. It's the atmosphere. It's the environment. It's the intangible, if you will, that makes me want to give the full point to Williamsburg. So that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, you know what? It's, you talked about it. I really love the theming at Holiday World and even Splash and Safari. I think it's wonderfully done, and I think it's perfect for what Holiday World is. Dollywood and Silver Dollar City really have nice thematic elements throughout, all of their areas. The SeaWorld parks, the SeaWorld parks are a certain thing, and they follow in line with that certain thing. And the SeaWorld parks it's almost a little unfair because they're almost not theme parks.
Well,
they have a couple of rides. It's almost like they're not really theme parks.
The two of them, San Antonio and San Diego, don't fall into any categories of what theme parks. They're more of zoos than they are theme parks.
Yeah.
Orlando,
and they just happen to have a couple coasters.
Yeah. Orlando, though, I feel is a theme park. That there's enough there that I would qualify that. You have all the coasters. You have things like Turtle Trek and Empire of the Penguin and Wild Arctic. Like, there's enough there to make that feels like a theme park. San Antonio doesn't feel like a theme
park than the others.
Yeah, San Antonio doesn't feel like a theme park at all. And I know it does. Like, San Diego and San Antonio didn't get any points here. I love San Antonio. I like San Antonio the best of the three SeaWorlds. I haven't been to San Diego, so I really can't comment on that one, but I've heard good things about it. But I really love the big lake in the middle of San Antonio. I think if we were giving points away for entrances, by far they would win because they have the best entrance of maybe any theme park anywhere. That entrance is amazing the way it's constructed.
San Antonio has a nice entrance.
Yeah. I love San Antonio, but it's just like this is where I think SeaWorld, I think where Manby is taking the chain is they're going to start building up the rides at these places. And the minute San Antonio starts getting some legitimate roller coasters in there, I would almost revisit this and say this might change a lot. Because right now they're at the goose egg. But if they ever got a serious collection of roller coasters, maybe just one or two, San Antonio, they have a good Halloween event. They have, all this other stuff going on. That moves up real quickly. San Diego, I don't know about that one at all.
I don't know if you heard about this, but apparently today there was a trademark filed by the SeaWorld Parks that people think is going to San Antonio for that new SeaWorld Jet Rescue ride. I think it's going to be called Wave Rider, the Wave Runner, the Rescue Ride or something like that. So people think that's coming to San Antonio.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about.
Maybe that's something, but well, I know that's not what you're talking about.
That's not what I'm talking about.
But maybe it's a step in that direction. Yeah. I don't even know. But I think you've got to go. I think there is just something about the way, like Busch Gardens Tampa with the African theme is really nice, but to a certain point, Africa kind of all blends together for me at some point outside of Egypt. Once you get past Montu and where's Cobra's Curse is, it all kind of feels like jungly to me.
Yes.
Like the Gwazi and the Shikra and, the Kumba. And even, Timbuktu is a little bit different with Scorpion, but it all kind of blends together.
Pantopia,
just
Pantopia, Danny, come on.
Yeah. But to me, when you can go to Busch Gardens Williamsburg and have such defined areas that still blend nicely into one conducive theme, you have a beautiful, British area in your main entrance there. And then you can go off into Scotland where you have very, definitively Scotland things. And then you can go into the Italian area and have Escape from Pompeii and Apollo's Chariot and all these beautiful gardens in the Italian area and San Marco. And then you go across the bridge and then you're in Oktoberfest and you have a very German feel. And then you can go into New France, which we're not quite sure what's going on there. But then, and then France and then, Ireland. Yeah, I know. And then, and then Ireland, and to have very definitive areas that still form a conducive theme. I think there's just something extra there that isn't at all the other ones. So I, like you, am going to go with Williamsburg here for a full point. It's up to you whether or not you think another park deserves maybe a half a point here. I don't think I would have any problems giving a half a point to any of the other ones here, except maybe Hershey. I think all the other parks I would be willing to give a half a point to, but even then I think Williamsburg still has that something extra.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think the half a point goes anywhere else. Dollywood and Silver Dollar City are very pretty parks, very clean parks, like you said. I think Williamsburg's the clear winner on that. To give a half a point would diminish what we just said, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So there you have it. So the final tally, if you want to give people, I have my final tally, but
yes. So we have SeaWorld San Antonio and SeaWorld San Diego. Didn't garner any points, but again, as we mentioned, just because some of these parks come at the end of this list, I think the problem is all of these are very good parks, and it's just challenging. So it's not to say that any of them are bad. I think all of these parks really are in my top 20 park list of almost 100 I've been to. So I don't know if Andy can say quite the same, but generally speaking, they're all very nice parks. Then at a half a point, we have SeaWorld Orlando and then Hershey Park. And then at 1.5 points, we have Silver Dollar City and Busch Gardens Tampa. And then in a tie for second, we have Dollywood and Holiday World at 4.5 points. And then coming in first at 5.5 points, we have Busch Gardens Williamsburg.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I did not know how this would turn out as I did it.
I didn't either.
I am not surprised that Williamsburg won because it has that je ne sais quoi, and I know you love Williamsburg. I don't know why. It's the coasters that I swear, if they could put in a serious roller coaster there, like a redo of Drachenfire.
Stop.
No, I'm dead serious. It would change my opinion of that park. I don't feel like there's a headliner there. I don't think Apollo's Chariot's all that good. Griffin is okay, but there's better versions of it elsewhere. Alpengeist, I hate Alpengeist. Verbolten is my favorite coaster.
On.
I do. Alpengeist dies on the second half. It does a cobra roll. That's the only thing Alpengeist does is a cobra roll. And guess what? I can go ride that on the greatest roller coaster ever at Cedar Point in the name of Raptor. I can do that elsewhere.
I knew you were going to take it there.
But if they put in,
you can ride it on every boomerang too.
Oh, stop! If they put in, I just want them to put in a serious coaster that I love, and it would completely change my opinion of that park. And I would probably go there a lot more often than I do. I've already been there like twice in the last 3 years, so it's not like I don't go there. I was just there last summer.
Yeah.
It's just I just don't like their coaster collection. I don't like Apollo. I don't like Alpengeist. I like Verbolten a lot. I still haven't gotten the damn Wolves yet. Even if they brought back, if they could have had Verbolten and Big
You
Bad
haven't gotten
Wolf,
the Wolves yet?
haven't gotten the Wolves yet. Like, what the hell?
Wow, I got all 3 on my first 3 rides.
Shocking. Danny Miller, we're happy for you. But it's just like, I didn't know where this was going to go. On my personal list, if I had to rank them, I like Tampa. It goes Holiday World, Tampa, probably Silver Dollar City, then Hershey. And that's my personal list. Is probably how I would go. And it's right in there, Williamsburg would be, number 10 on my list. But when you break it down into these categories, I think you really see how Busch Gardens Williamsburg kind of edges ahead of everyone else. It's more of a complete park besides their coaster collection. Which is kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah.
That's the one thing, because we haven't really had that. Maybe Knott's Berry. This is kind of like the Knott's Berry effect now that I think about it, because Cedar Point,
It is. Very much.
We thought Cedar Point was going to run away with it, and then Knott's Berry kind of wins because of all the extra stuff that they do with the food, with the Halloween stuff. Knott's Berry really does a great job. Yeah. And once again, Knott's Berry doesn't have that overwhelming coaster collection. By any sense of the word. I would take Williamsburg's coaster collection over Knott's Berry's, to be honest with you. Yeah.
I would agree wholeheartely, but I mean, we're seeing when we talk about best park, we can see what happens.
Yeah. So that concludes us here this evening on COASTER-net Uncut. As always, thank you for joining us here. And we're going to have a few cool things coming up this summer that we're going to be announcing very soon. So please stay with us. Keep watching our videos. And if you see us in the park, say hello. I know you love to. I love talking to people. So say hello and introduce yourself. As always, I am Andy Rabarchak from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Danny Miller from Binghamton, New York.
And as always, ride on, Ride Warriors.
See you at the park, slackers.